Before starting this video, I just like to explain something. I don't usually get anything for nothing with my little channel. Not enough subscribers, I don't think. But a mob called Hollyland contacted me a month or so ago, and they've supplied me with a fantastic little radio microphone setup. This is the Hollyland Lark 1, and I'm really impressed with this product. It comes in this great little carry case which protects it all, and it contains everything you need for a wireless microphone setup. Now this little case is a charging case, so when you open it up you can see inside the charging case there's two microphones and one receiver. The microphones are great. They come with a little windshield that sits on the top, and that windshield goes on quite rigidly. The problem I had with my DJI wireless mic was that the windshield was attached with a magnetic type of setup, and in the wind one day it blew off and overboard, and now you can see I've got the windshield hung on with a rubber band. Now you can also see that the difference in size in the two units. So this is the DJI mic, this is the Hollyland mic, and you can see they're quite a bit smaller. The other things I like about the Hollyland setup, there's two microphones, so if you're doing interviews you can run the two mics. You can either run them in mono or stereo, so you can use them as stereo mics, which just adds a little bit to the audio when you're doing an interview with someone. The receiver is also very small, and all you need to do with that, when you pull it out of the charger, when it's in the charger, that's charging. You can see the little lights on here telling you it's charging, and when you pull it out it turns itself on. So the lights you can see on the front tell you that the receiver's on, and the same thing happens with the wireless mics. This lead plugs into the receiver, and the other end of that lead goes into whatever camera you're using. So I can plug it into the base of the Pocket 2, or I can plug it into the base of my Sony camera I use. So that's how you connect it up. Very simple. There's also a patch that lets you plug it into a mobile phone, so it's got everything going for it. So I love this little setup. It's just so good. Just pop them in there and they charge up. There's a USB 3 port on the bottom where you can actually fill this little battery pack up, and very small and easy to carry around with you. So it's now becoming my go-to microphone setup for when I'm miking up for getting good audio. There's lots on YouTube on the audio quality of these microphones, and if you want to look at that you can go and have a look on YouTube. I'm not going to cover it. I'd just like to say thanks to Hollyland for sending me this product. I really love it. I'm going to use it all the time, and if you're looking at getting something yourself, the Hollyland Lark 1. It's a great little product, and thanks very much. Let's get on with the video. Well, we don't wear skimpy bikinis. Hell, it frightens me when I take my shirt off. There's definitely no one pregnant here. This is motor sailing for old dudes. We do live on a boat, and we do cruise extensively along the Australian coast. Join us and visit some great destinations. Learn how to look after a boat and live off grid. It might even get you enthused to do the same thing. Hey, stay out there till you can't. Well, hi dudes, I'm in the marina at Yeppoon, and I ran across a boat that I nearly bought when I was a younger bloke. It's an aft cabin DeFever motor cruiser, and it's owned by Paddy and Jane. It's an older boat, but it's obviously very well looked after and loved, and we're going to take a look at that later on today. But before taking a look at their boat, I've jumped aboard Greg's boat called
Bucket list. Welcome, Norm.
Thanks very much, Greg.
I didn't name it, but I inherited that name.
Okay, so we're on Bucket List, and Bucket List is a 59-foot Maritimo, a younger boat, I think, than the DeFever for sure, but a different boat. And I thought I'd just put this up and let you guys compare two different, very different types of cruising boats. Now, both of these boats do cruise. Greg and Paddy are both out cruising. We're hiding in the marina here because it's been very windy for the last week and looks like being windy for a few more days. So we're all hiding out of the wind here. It was a good opportunity to talk to these guys and compare their boats. Okay, so Maritimo, Greg, 59 foot. What sort of beam?
We're 5.6 metres, so we're a fairly beamy boat. Overall 19 metres in length, so we've got a hydraulic swim platform for the tender.
All right.
So from a marina perspective, they measure us at 19.
Okay. And the hydraulic swim platform, a great thing for getting the tender in and out of the water?
Yeah, makes it much safer,
Yeah.
easier for the passengers, the young kids, the grandchildren, they love it.
Yeah. I hate the davits on boats that are up high because if you've ever worked with them in a bit of a swell, you get the dinghy sort of really moving around a lot, and just having it on the swim floor.
Well, we've actually got the option. We can put it on the front, so we've got rails on the front,
yep.
and as well as the swim platform on the back.
Yeah.
The boat balances better when you're underway with it on the front.
Yeah.
So if we're doing a passage, we put it on the front. But
Yep.
for meandering around the islands, it's nice to have it on the back. It's quick to get in the water.
Easy, yeah, and quick and easy to get in the water, so you can take Vito ashore.
That's right. Yes, our poodle puppy.
Okay, and type of engines on the boat?
So we've got Volvo Penta, model D13s.
Well, this is quite an engine room.
Yes, welcome to the engine room of Bucket List. Pair of Volvos. These are D13, 800 horsepower aside, and through a conventional transmission and straight shafts out to a 5-bladed prop.
Okay, and what about the top speed of the boat?
You can probably ring it out to about mid-20s if you really push it hard. But we've got 4,700 litres of fuel capacity, about 800 litres of fresh water, and obviously a black tank. So you're looking, when it's fully loaded, at over 5 tonnes of fluids. So that pushes us up to probably about 32 to 33 tonne. Mm-hmm. And of course, being an enclosed flybridge, you've got a fair bit of windage. So you're pushing quite a lot of bulk along there. It cruises really at about 18.5 to 19 knots. That's really the most efficient cruise. At that point, we'd be burning about 220 litres per hour. So that'll give us an economy of around 11.5 litres per nautical mile.
That's not too bad. So it gives you a fair bit of range at that cruise speed. And I suppose if you wanted to run it a bit slower, you get a lot better range.
Sure. If we pop down to about 10 knots, you're back, of course, into displacement mode, and your economy is doubled effectively.
Yeah.
So at that point, you can be looking at 1,000 nautical miles. And if you want to drop yourself back down to around 7 to 8 knots, you can start to see ranges of up to 2,000 nautical miles.
Yeah, right. And how long have you owned the boat, Greg?
Boat's 5 years old. I know I've owned it for just 2 years now. So it's just 5 years and manufactured in mid-18. And of course, for those that are not aware, Maritimo's based on the Gold Coast in Queensland, Australia. And
they make a lot of boats and export them all over the world. And I guess the waiting list on a new boat would be quite horrific at the moment.
I'm told that you're probably looking at about 3 years.
3 years.
So plonk your money down now, and in 3 years you might see a new boat.
They certainly do a great job on the Gold Coast. And one thing I might do when I get back down there is go and see them at Maritimo and just have a look over their complex, because it really is fantastic. I think they're even setting up a TAFE college near the works there so that they can train people. So they're doing a great job of getting trades into the boating industry. I think it's fantastic.
And there's a lot of trades. I mean, you've got a lot of woodworking, you've got a lot of marine electrical, you've got all your diesel fittings. So there's fiberglass, obviously.
And it's great for it to be done in Oz, because you see so much of it going overseas these days. So
that's right.
Great to see Australians doing it. Okay, now the house system on the boat. What do you run as far as house power goes?
Sure. Boat's all 24 volts, so each of the engine start batteries are 24 volt, and it's got a 24 volt lithium house battery. I ripped all the electricals out and pretty much replaced them, put in a Victron system that's got a Victron 24 volt inverter, 8 kilowatt inverter, 200 amp charge capacity, and the batteries are 24 volt, 600 amp hour in total. So we've got quite a lot of battery capacity, heck of a lot of inverter and battery charging capacity. But I did that because I don't like to run the generator forever and ever when you're out at anchor in the anchorage. And with a 200 amp charger, I can put 200 amps in an hour back into the batteries. So, you know, I can run the generator just for an hour once a day, and, you know, you can do all the essential things. You can make some water, you can run the dishwasher and all sorts of other things.
All the luxury stuff.
That's right, yes.
That's good. And yeah, and charging off your engines, a lot of people, when they set up lithium, I've just put it on my boat, don't take account of the engine charging system. So your alternators on your motors, if you don't look after that, sometimes you can really have a problem. So how did you get around that?
Sure, of course I had to separate the systems previously. They worked by interlocking them together. You have to, of course, separate that because you can't mix your lead acid battery technology and your lithium. So I'm using Victron battery chargers. Yeah. So the engines have got just their standard alternators. These are 24 volt, 110 amp max alternators. And then up here you can see the battery to battery system. So there's 3 battery chargers on each side, the port and the starboard. They take, of course, the 24 volts from the alternator system, run that across into the lithium batteries to charge them. So with the 3 of these, you can get around about 45 to 50 amps out of each side. So, you know, combined, they're giving probably around about 70 to 80 amps when you're underway and they heat up. And so with a net, you can get around 60 amps into the house batteries while you're underway. The rest of it, of course, is going to running the boat. So you're nicely charging your batteries at about 60 amps, which is way under their maximum levels. But it's sort of 40 to 50 amps. You're treating the alternators nicely, and I can get a net 60 plus amps of charging into the battery when we're underway. So on a couple of hours passage, you can put 100, 200 amp hours back into the batteries without a problem.
And solar panels on the roof?
No solar panels.
No solar, okay.
Not a lot of roof space. It's got a large sunroof and not enough roof space to put panels to make enough difference.
Right.
I'd never be able to put enough panels on to be able to really avoid using the generator. Yep. So you just use the generator for an hour or so each day and you get by.
Whatever works, eh? Okay, did we talk about bow thrusters? You carry a lot of windage on a boat like this.
Sure. The boat's got hydraulic thrusters, both bow and stern, and you know, they work quite well. On the starboard side, on the transmission, you've got a hydraulic takeoff pump on the back. That's the hydraulics for the steering on the boat. And then if you come on over to the port side, you've got a much larger hydraulic pump, and that's your hydraulics for your stern and your bow thrusters.
Yeah, wow.
You've still got to be careful because you can get a lot of windage and it can pick up speed pretty quickly when you're manoeuvring in the marina. Yeah. But like any boat, you get the hang of it over a period of time, and between splitting the sticks and using the bow thruster, that's where you can really push it sideways if you need to.
And that actually, if it's blowing you against the wharf, you can keep it off too with the thrusters as well.
That's right. Yeah, the thrusters are good for manoeuvring in close quarters, and you can kick it around in the berth nicely. Yeah.
Now, obviously, the boat ticks a lot of boxes for you. Is there anything you'd change?
There's always things that you'd change. You know, my wife would like to change the layout of the galley. Yeah, she'd like more cupboard space, and also she wants more wardrobe space in the staterooms. So things like that. They're just minor grievances, really.
How far have you cruised this season? You're heading back south at the moment.
That's right. We're based in Mooloolaba on the Sunshine Coast. This year we only came as far as the Keppel Group, and we've spent quite some considerable time in the marina here. I think the other night, Norm, we had 35 knots blowing through the marina here, gusts.
It was nice to be in here.
So it was the best place to be for sure. Yeah. So this year, not as far. Last year, we went all the way to Port Douglas. So we did a 4-month period last year of cruising and did probably about 2,300 nautical miles all up. So that was a big year for us last year. This year a little bit smaller, more relaxed, not as much moving around.
Me too. It's as far as I'm coming this year, and it's a great spot. Like, you get out to Great Keppel there. Yep. And you had a little bit of fun out there about, 2-3 weeks ago where you had went from 0 knots to about 50, I think, in a short
That's
time.
right, yes. Yeah, the Bureau forecast for the day was a chance of thunderstorms with northeasterlies of sort of 10 to 15 knots. And we were sitting out at anchor about 9:30 in the evening, and the wind went from 3 knots to 45 knots. And that was a 45 knot sustained 1 minute average.
Yeah.
So I know within that we were getting gusts that would be close to 50 or perhaps even over.
Yeah.
And it got a bit exciting. 5 boats ended up on the beach at Great Keppel. The next morning we could see the extent of the damage. We were very lucky. We tripped our anchor when the wind reversal and the wind came up and the boat swung around. We tripped the anchor but dragged probably only about 7 or 8 metres before it reset. So that's a testimony to my theory, Norm, that says get the biggest anchor you can fit on the boat and make it one of the modern ones.
And what sort is it?
This is a Manson Supreme on here.
Okay.
So modern anchor.
Heard good things about them, yeah.
Well, it worked well for us.
And there's a test in real life, eh?
And it held on. We had 1.6, 1.7 metre waves running through the anchorage and 45 knots. So there was a fair bit of strain on that anchor for sure.
So what do you think your favourite destination is so far, Greg?
We very much like the Whitsundays. It's a lovely place to be, great part of Australia, a lot of diversity in locations you can go to, plenty of places to hide if the wind turns a bit nasty. Yeah. And, you know, let's face it, hard to beat Whitehaven Beach and the surrounds for the picture perfect postcard. Yeah,
and I guess it's great here, but the anchorages are more wind. You know, not as much wind gets into the anchorages in the Whitsunday, so you usually have a more comfortable night.
Sure, and that's one of the challenges at Great Keppel because the swell tends to wrap around it, so it really doesn't matter where you anchor, you get some swell on any of the anchorages there. You can certainly hide from the wind without too much trouble, but it's really difficult to get away from the swell. Yeah. And then, of course, the next challenge is, you know, wind direction, tide direction and swell. Yep. And if you happen to get yourself beam on, it can be a bit uncomfortable.
Sure, certainly can.
No stabilisers on this boat.
No stabilisers, no.
So we're always looking for somewhere that's nice and calm if we can.
Yeah. And even, I'm in a cat, and she's not really wide, but even out there in the swell, if it starts, I guess the upside of my boat is I only draw 0.8, so I can get in very close and get under headlands and that, but still the swell will wrap around, and once it starts lifting chines out of the water, I'm in the marina.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, well, we try to have a similar policy. If it's going to be uncomfortable, find a marina. That's the plan.
All right, Greg. Well, look, thanks for showing me your boat. It's fantastic.
Our pleasure.
Magnificent, a magnificent vessel. And thanks to you and Barbie for making the time available.
Yeah,
and
look forward to a sundowner tonight. We'll get some night photos.
Fantastic. Thanks, Greg. Now, as I said, I nearly boarded a Fever, nearly exactly the same as this boat when I was probably 34. And I think at the time it was too expensive, and I think it was probably about $250,000. So I think the boat might have held its value. But yeah, it was too expensive at the time. But I really did enjoy the boat. It's my sort of boat with the walk around side decks and the way they're laid out. I like them as a boat. I'm with Paddy and Jane on their boat called Recovery, and obviously loved and well maintained, so fantastic looking to Fever for a boat of this age. I think it looks really good. Okay, so we just wanted to ask a bit about your boat, Paddy. What about the length of it?
I think it's 10.9 metres. 10.9,
okay. And draft, what's your draw?
Draft is 1.1.
1.1, that's not too bad, eh? And what sort of, it only runs a single motor, this boat?
Yeah, just the Cummins 330.
330,
6-speed BTA.
Yeah, and that's 330 horsepower.
Yeah, 330. Yeah.
And be shaft drive?
Shaft drive, yeah.
And no come home motor, just the one diesel?
Just the one.
And have you ever had that, I've got to ask you a question, have you ever had that let you down?
Well, on our way up north here, we just got across the Wide Bay Bar. And we're about a kilometre inside the Wide Bay Bar. We heard a strange noise coming out of the motor, and the shaft had broken on the water pump.
Oh, the shaft had broken on the water pump?
Yeah. I was very lucky that our travelling companion had a spare water pump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, everything's
Well,
a
it
bit
probably
fixable.
didn't let us down because we got over the bar.
Yeah, good. Okay.
But over the important part.
Yeah, that's the main thing, yeah. And what sort of fuel capacity, do you know what the fuel capacity is?
1,560 litres.
1,560. And at what is your cruise speed at, you know, cruise revs?
Cruise revs are 1,700.
Yep.
Do about 12 litres an hour.
12 litres an hour.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not too bad at all. And how many knots is that?
That's 8 knots. Well, it depends on the top.
Yeah, on the tile, it's
Yeah,
Yeah.
which way it's running.
okay. And top speed would be
Well, 10 knots if you've got a good tide behind you. 12 knots coming down the face of the way.
We've done one.
yeah. Okay, and do you know how old the boat is? You know when she was built?
2005.
And how long have you owned it, Paddy? And
We've owned it for 4 years.
4 years, okay.
Yeah.
And obviously love it because it's in immaculate
Yeah,
condition.
it
so it's
wasn't like this
fantastic.
one we bought. It was.
Yeah. Now you don't have any stabilise on it?
No, stabilised.
Thrusters?
Yeah, stern and front thrusters.
Bow thruster and stern thruster,
Yes.
great. And what about your, I know I'm talking about this, what about your house system, your electrical system on board? And I know I've interviewed Paddy and I've interviewed Greg this morning, and both of these guys have had the same thing happen. Paddy can explain it.
Yeah, well, Jane can probably explain a little
The
bit better.
smell.
The smell.
So we got all new batteries before we left the Gold Coast, and we've been up north and come back, and then there was a smell, which we eventually, luckily, went down, and there was one in a bank of 3. The centre one had,
Started to leak and
yeah, and then it took
The
out
straw.
the 2 either side.
I had a look at it, it was quite swollen.
Quite swollen would be a
Yeah.
nice way.
And what had happened, the battery had dropped the cell, so a cell is shorted out, and then what that does is that just the battery charger thinks it needs charging, so it puts in 14 volts or whatever, and what that does then is overheats the whole system. And exactly the same thing happened on Greg's boat,
Yeah,
so that's
it's
quite
amazing.
unbelievable. And it's like usually batteries are pretty bulletproof, but you do get the odd one that, and that
Yeah.
was under warranty. The battery's only a
Yeah,
couple of years old.
yeah.
Yeah,
Only
fantastic.
2 months old.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the smell. If you get a bad smell, try and you don't look at. Last thing you thought of was the batteries.
Yeah, well, true, yeah. Do you have solar panels on the boat?
yeah, I've got 3 120s
3 120s.
now up on top of the
Yeah. And so that, and a gen set as well?
9 kVA.
9 kVA, okay. So do you run well off the sun, or do you need to run the gen set?
If I'm been steaming and I'm up to 100% by about 4 o'clock, I don't need to run the Jenny overnight.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And at rest of the solar, will put a little bit in each day.
Yeah.
Well, obviously the boat ticks a lot of boxes for you guys. It does look magnificent for an older boat, I tell you. Look, it looks like it's been painted, but it's just been polished, you say, yeah.
Yeah.
And it does look really good. Is there anything, you obviously love the boat, is there anything that you would change with it, or anything else you'd do?
Well, the lower helm station hasn't got a seat.
Oh, okay. And you find you use the lower helm station a lot?
That's CID.
Yeah. It makes me wonder. I'm not a big fan of fly bridges because I just think it duplicates everything and they can be uncomfortable places. So I like Lucinda's got a nice, you know, no
They've
fly
got
bridge type
lovely-
thing. It'd be
and they've got,
nice.
lovely
Yeah.
seating.
Could you put a seat down there if you wanted to?
He's a drummer, so he's got a drum stool down there.
Bob, is it?
No, it's Paddy.
I'm a drummer too.
Oh,
Well, used to be.
Yeah, I used to
You haven't
be
got
too.
your drums.
we've got a
I saw the drum stool down
Yeah.
there and I thought that's a good idea.
Drums are not real social in a house.
Okay, now you guys have been cruising pretty extensively. You cruise with a club actually, Southport Yacht Club, part of
Southport Yacht
Southport,
Club,
yeah. And Southport Yacht Club's got a big sailing arm, but I think they've got a pretty big powerboat arm as
Pretty
well.
big. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have sometimes 20 to 25 vessels on a cruise.
Yeah, no, it's good. Yeah, it's nice fun to cruise with someone else, I guess,
Yeah.
and you probably know them all from the club as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so how far have you cruised this season? You're heading south now or still heading north?
South now, just waiting for the weather.
Yeah.
We've been up to Bowen, which is our hometown.
Okay, no worries.
yeah,
But we
went to
keep the boat at Southport.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is your holiday house down the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. What about one of your favourite destinations?
Whitehaven's been probably the best swim.
Yeah.
We like to swim.
Yeah,
And we got stuck at Scorefell Island for 8 nights, which
Yeah.
was wonderful too.
that's good. Yeah, yeah, that's good.
That was good. And St. Bees was beautiful.
Yeah.
St.
Yeah.
Bees, Hunter Island was nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some lovely spots around.
Yeah.
Okay, well look, that's fantastic. I don't know if there's anything else I can ask you about the boat. As I said, once again, it
the
looks
best-
fantastic.
The best part is the back cabin.
The back covering here.
No, the cabin.
The back cabin, yeah.
the
Well,
back-
we'll go.
yeah.
So this is what you'd call an aft cabin
An
boat.
aft cabin, yeah.
And some people don't like them because you are up high at when you're docking the boat. It can be a bit difficult, but I
Yeah.
guess you just get routines in
Yeah.
place.
We always go stern in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And the other thing is that the aft cabin does give you a lot of room. So I'll have a look at that in a minute. But
Yeah.
the aft
Yeah.
cabin really does
And
give
lots
you
of
lots of room.
airflow through it.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, look, thanks very much for your time. Fantastic.
Thank you for your time, Noel.
Okay, and look, enjoy your cruise, and I hope to see you out there sometime.
Yeah.
And we'll get together and have another beer.
Yeah, we will.
Fantastic. Thanks very
Fine.
much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Patty.
Thank you.
No.